check my bottom as well, see what tension I'm at, and try to dial it in so it's all the same. Put that on a 1.5 as well. Because your bottom head, if your bottom head's not in tune, it's going to leave that nice boing sound as well. Notice it brought the whole tone of the drum up quite a bit. So, but that's a basic tuning with a torque key. If you don't have one, it's worth going to spend the $15 for. Definitely. So next thing we're going to take a look at is your snare drum. Now, I don't have to crank these things exact with a torque key, but a lot of people are like, well, how do I get this thing, the rings out of it, the overtones. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up and give you a listen of probably how your snare drum sounds right now if it was just got from the store, bought from the store, or your parents put it together, whichever. I mean, because, you may not know. So your snares might be really, really loose, and you get a lot of that overtone. Hey, it sounds great. Some people like to have a lot more of a snarey snare. My personal opinion, or not my personal opinion, my preference is I like it nice tight. It's probably really loud and obnoxious with this microphone on, so I'm going to turn this off when I whack it. Now, I like my snare, like I said, a lot tighter, really snappy, so I crank mine. You could barely even get, it's denting a little bit, but mine is so tight. This thing is just crank tight. Really tight. And I work the same exact way. I work from one side to the other, to the other, to the other. You want to really work this drum just like you do any other drum. But I'm not worried about it being perfectly in tone on every single lug. You want to be close, obviously, because you don't want it to get warped and you don't want to unseat the head improperly. I think I've hit all these. But my head is just cranked. I like that real snappy. Again, microphone. You can barely even hear a difference in that ring, or in the tightness of it. It's got that over ring. Talking about over rings here, I think I have one of these on the floor here. This thing is this one is an old Pearl, but they sell these things. This one's not been flat and hung on anything, so you see it's all kind of warbly. But that nice overtone ring that you're getting here on my snare. You can deaden that out quite a bit by throwing one of these on here. Some people like that real tight, snappy sound. I personally like mine to ring a little bit more, get a nice little ring to it, so that's a ringier snare. The other thing you want to do is most likely the bass drum just got tossed in the room. Big, huge, boomy mess. I'm not going to rip mine apart right now to show you, but what I can say is loosen up your lugs in the front head, not the batter head, not this one, but loosen the ones in the front head. Go to your mother's closet, find an old beat-up blanket or an old pillow. A feather pillow works great. Don't spend the money on a $35 or $40 bass drum equalizing ring or some kind of a thing that velcros into your bass drum. A blanket works great. Right now I think I've got just an old blanket in here. It's not packed into the bass drum. It's probably about halfway up, and all I'm doing is I take it against the push it up against the batter head, just lightly touching it. So it's just there enough to give a nice little thump. Because if not, listen to my bass drum and then kick yours and see what it sounds like. And that's due to no big, expensive, high-end bass drum muffling system. It's a blanket, jam it in there. So another thing I do with my heads, my lugs on my heads are basically, I'm loose on my lug. I don't know if you probably can't see that, but I'm like just loose, and then I'm basically like a 3/4 of a turn to 1 turn tight. So my bass drum head is really floppy, giving me that nice, big, deep, thumpy. And that's the same with the front head, really floppy. There's no wrinkles in it, obviously, but I'm just flopping up where I can get that nice big kick. So the bass drum's huge because a lot of times no one thinks about that. Jam anything in there, something that'll help deaden it, and don't cram it up against that head. Just enough that's wadded up, it absorbs a little bit, and it's laying against that batter head here. Other than that, those are a couple quick things just to give you, get your kit sounding a little bit better. The tuning key is great. If you don't have one, at least loosen that head up, get some pressure on the thing, and then work it quarters of a turn, like half turn at first, then quarters of a turn until it sounds good to you. Get the bottom the same way. As for tension in the bottom, the bottom I usually like a little bit looser than the top, but there's so many different ways to tune. You could spend an hour and a half, 2 hours just on tuning alone, so I'm not going to do that today here. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of some cool, quick things to do. That snare ring that I showed you, this thing here, they sell them for all the toms. These particular heads, these Evans EC2 coateds, have an actual deadening ring built in the inside, and a piece of like a vinyl, pinstriping basically, taped to the inside, so it has that nice dead sound to it. If you don't have that, they do sell a whole set of these, basically, which is a one-ply drum head cut, but they do sell all these that you could throw on your toms as well. Like that one fits on my 14-inch floor tom. Not sure if you'll hear a difference or not, but I'll show you with it and without it. Because these heads are already had that deadening ring in it, you're not hearing a big difference. But if you have a Remo pinstripe or a single ply head that's really, really ringy, these things are quick and easy to throw on there. So a couple quick tips. I know it's not a lot, but I wanted to give you guys at least a heads up if you got a new kit for Christmas to try a couple of these quick tips. As for your bass drum, your tension on your pedals, I've got my springs. I've had a lot of people asking me, how do you set up your pedals? My pedal spring itself, on the spring, you have the threaded rod. I've got my threaded rod about 3/4 of the way tight. So it's cranked down pretty darn good. I like my beater coming back. Some people complain because it whacks them in the shin, but it's my preference. Again, there's no right or wrong. With anything we're doing here, it's all whatever feels good to you. So the only other thing I could tell you to do is to exchange all the really crappy gifts you got, buy a good set of heads maybe, and the drum key, and of course, my DVD. You must buy this. This is a great DVD. Yeah. Whoa, it's even cool inside. So anyway, get a hold of this thing because it's got some awesome techniques for beginners, for intermediates, for advanced. You'll spend hours and hours and hours of enjoyment in your drum room on your new drum set. So, and as well as spending the money maybe on a drum pad. Just because you got a drum set doesn't mean you're ready to rock and roll. Get a drum pad, buy a beginner's book, start practicing your rudiments and hand technique. You can watch all my videos about that previous to on either on YouTube or on my DVD here. So there you have it. So great. Happy New Year. Happy 2008. Rock and roll. Kick it.